Our muscles do change with age, but we know that exercise can counteract the change that goes with aging. So not using your muscles, not exercising them, not being active is actually worse than aging.
Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast, a weekly podcast providing career and creative inspiration to help you build a purpose-filled life. If you're interested in tapping into your creative potential, pursuing a career with passion, and building on your biggest and best resource, yourself, please join me on this path. I'm your host, Nancy Moore, and I want you to know that I'm on this journey with you. So let's get started. In this episode, I am visiting with Christian McSoud, a physical therapist specializing in women's pelvic floor health. And I have known Christian for years, and we really haven't had a conversation this in depth about what she does. And so she recently started an online resource providing education and classes to women in pelvic floor health online through social media. And I thought this is a really good time to kind of understand what she does, because I think eventually she is going to be a great resource for many, many women. So she is the co-founder of Pelvic Pathways. And as I mentioned, it's an online resource. And her background is physical therapy. And so this conversation discusses her specialization in pelvic floor health, why she chose that, and she gives a lot of great information in this area. So she also provides tips on bladder health and so much more. And I also admit something to her during the podcast, and I didn't know if I was going to leave it in, but I did. So you'll have to stick around and find out what I admit, something that I learned on her social media that I should not have been doing for all the years that I've been doing it. So stick around and listen. I hope that you enjoy this episode with Christian McSoud. Okay, so today I am talking with Christian, and I am so happy to be visiting with you because you have a topic and have a career that is very helpful for women. And so anyway, it's something that I have been wanting to talk to you about, and I thought I'll just have you on the podcast and open it up so everybody can get the benefit from your knowledge and expertise. And so welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. I love your podcast, and I think you're doing amazing work. Thanks for including me.
Well, I'm glad because we've known each other for years, and I haven't ended up visiting you as far as being a client, but you never know in the future what's going to happen. Yes. But anyway, if you could just kind of share with people a little about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm 52 and I'm a mom of 3 boys, practically raised. I'm getting close to being an empty nester, have 1 more left at home. I am a physical therapist, and I've been working as a physical therapist for a little over 20 years. And about 14 years ago, I started specializing in a field called pelvic floor physical therapy. And then I later became certified in that area. And outside of work, I love just going on walks, being outside. If you ask anyone if I could walk anywhere, I would. I love drinking hot tea, and I absolutely love traveling.
Okay, you and I share a lot of common interests. So I'm drinking hot tea right now, and I love walking too. So and traveling. So yes.
Yeah.
So you have a specialization in pelvic floor health, and I'm wondering how you got into that or became interested in that, and then what that even means. What does pelvic floor health mean?
Well, I grew up as a dancer, like doing ballet, and I don't think it's completely unusual that maybe people who dance or are involved in sports kind of fall in love with the study of movement. And so I did go on to college and continued my dance, but did it more as a hobby, and started studying biology and psychology. And then it wasn't really until I went to apply for a summer job, like when I was in college, to be just like a front desk staff at a physical therapy clinic, that I started watching what the therapists were doing and kind of fell in love with physical therapy. So that kind of started my thought that I might want to do physical therapy. I first went into just pediatric physical therapy. So I really didn't even know anything about pelvic floor physical therapy. So I was doing pediatric. And as physical therapists or in a lot of health professions, you have to do continuing ed classes, every year. And I had taken a class geared towards pelvic floor physical therapy. And I remember thinking the information was really interesting, but I just wasn't in a setting to really implement that information. And so I guess I just kind of kept it at the back of my head and kept working, and eventually moved from pediatrics back into the adult world in an orthopedic setting and started doing a lot of hands-on manual therapy. And that information was just kind of always sitting there with me, and I just thought that would go so well with a lot of the manual therapy work I was doing. And I just started taking more classes geared towards that, and eventually started taking patients and implementing that pelvic health treatment plan. And that's kind of what led me into this field.
Okay. So then is it just something that caters to women? I mean, you on your Instagram, I heard you say everybody has a pelvis, but is it just you specialize in working with women, or is it everybody? Who do you work with?
Well, I kind of have two different things going. So here in Tulsa, I'm in a clinic. I'm at Urologic Specialists of Oklahoma, and I treat men and women. Okay. Because you're right, everyone has a pelvis, everyone has a pelvic floor, and have similar pelvic health issues. Online with a colleague of mine, actually a classmate of mine who also does pelvic floor physical therapy, we started an online pelvic health education business where we're trying to spread awareness of pelvic health issues and also try to make the treatment more accessible to people. So we have some programs that are available for purchase online. And on that online business, we are gearing it towards women.
Okay. So then the online business, people can, I guess we can get into that, but I'm thinking people can purchase that and then be even in other places, or would they come and see you in person as well?
Well, part of doing the online was that, so part of pelvic floor physical therapy that is so different from maybe other physical therapy. I don't know if you've gone to physical therapy for anything.
Yes.
Like shoulder, knee, hip.
Yes.
So traditional, like outpatient orthopedic physical therapy is you might go 2 or 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. And you do some exercises. You might have some manual therapy as well there. Well, pelvic floor physical therapy is a little bit more intimate. And so you don't see multiple patients at one time. Mm-hmm. You're not in a big open gym, at least not in our clinic. So in pelvic floor physical therapy, it's more of a one-on-one. And so I'm limited by what one person can do. And so by providing this platform online, we're able to reach more people. We're not limited to not even just people in Tulsa or Oklahoma, but we can reach people nationally, internationally. And so it just opens up the door to reaching a lot more people.
Okay. So what I'm wanting to know too, the classes or what you're offering or sessions that you're offering, people can be remote though, right?
So currently how we have it is we have right now, we just have a stress urinary incontinence program that you can purchase online that you would do at home. Okay. So you would not get your evaluation in person. It is more of us trying to explain the anatomy and the physiology and kind of take you step by step with the home program.
Okay. See, I think that is so beneficial because you don't know what you don't know. And so I've actually learned a lot from looking at your Instagram, and I like the way that it's set up because you give demonstrations, and I'm thinking this really is something that people, it's not that it's taboo, but it's just not talked about widely, even amongst my women friends, even with my friends, if there's any issues or anything, I don't know about it. And so just opening the door and being able to talk about different issues that people are having is important. So what do you see people for?
Well, I see people for several different types of pelvic health issues, such as maybe stress urinary incontinence, and that would be defined as leakage of urine when you cough or sneeze or laugh or jump, or exercise. Urge urinary incontinence, which would be more like, I have to hurry and get to the bathroom, and maybe you're leaking on the way to the bathroom. Or even if you don't have the leakage with that, some people just deal with urgency and frequency, where they're going to the bathroom all the time. I also deal with a lot of bowel issues. So I deal with constipation and fecal incontinence, and I deal with pelvic pain. And that might be generalized pelvic pain, which could include low back pain, as well as pelvic floor groin pain that can sometimes all be lumped together. Even sciatica can kind of be lumped into that. And we do know a lot that a lot of people have low back pain. If you really ask them, more than likely they probably have incontinence, because they kind of go hand in hand. And then I deal with like pain with intercourse. So that's another area that I treat.
Okay. Yeah. That's not stuff that typically is easy to talk about. So I'm glad.
Well, you said that, that people don't talk about it. Before, when I first started this, and started doing pelvic floor physical therapy, when I wanted to go get a job, there wasn't really a place for me to just go apply for a job. So I actually opened my own clinic to be able to do pelvic floor physical therapy. Now, we've grown a lot. Now, there was pelvic floor physical therapy going on then. It just wasn't as widespread as it is now. So in my mind, we've grown so much, and that we're talking about it more. Now, the online platform does give us a way to share tips and get people talking. And of course, I'm looking at stuff like this, so it's showing up on my feed all the time.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, there is stuff out there. So there is more information, but research used to show that women would live 20 plus years dealing with a pelvic floor issue before they ever even brought it up to their healthcare provider. And now I think research shows that it's down to about 6 to 7 years that someone might live with an issue before they bring it up. So that is progress. It's not like where we want to be, but it's better. I do think friends are sharing it more, and they're talking about it. If I had this great cartoon clipping on my wall at work that said, "Sometimes I laugh so hard tears run down my legs." Right? So you just laughed with that. And I could read that to quite a few women, and we would all laugh with that. And that's because we can maybe relate to that. And so what we want to do is take it from just relating and acknowledging, like, oh yeah, this happens, and to know that there actually is something you can do about it. And that doesn't always mean surgery, and it doesn't mean that you're just going to do Kegels either. So
okay, yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. So what kind of things that you see people for, and then how does the treatment work?
If I'm seeing them in the clinic, of course, I'm going to do an entire assessment. I'm going to get their history and kind of see what's going on. So, because someone could have a diagnosis. Let me just pick one, like stress incontinence. That doesn't always mean the treatment's going to be the same. So we might think someone, they had 3 pregnancies, 3 vaginal deliveries, they had a hysterectomy, they're going through menopause. Oh, for sure, they're leaking because they have a weak pelvic floor. And maybe, that sounds likely, that might happen. But there is also, some people can have a tight pelvic floor. Maybe that hysterectomy somehow caused some muscle guarding, or they have some other issues going on that are actually making the muscles tight. And that's going to be a whole different treatment process. So we always do an internal pelvic assessment to assess what pelvic floor are we talking about. So that leads us to what treatment protocol we need to do.
Okay. Now, is there ever a time when it's too late? When you say, maybe people don't have to go necessarily to surgery, that you have treatment options for people to avoid surgery or put off surgery. Is there, a good time for people, to come in and see you, or is it ever, too late for people to see you?
Well, it's definitely never too late. When you said that, it made me think of a couple of common comments I get from patients, and I have on one hand, some people come in and say, "Am I the youngest patient you see?" Like maybe they're sitting in the lobby and they're seeing some older people, and they're like, "Oh I must be the youngest patient you ever see." And then I may have the other extreme where they're like, "Am I the oldest patient you see?" Yeah. I mean, literally, I see some pediatric patients, but I would say my typical age of people I see is anywhere from 16 to 90.
Oh, okay.
My average age is probably in the 40 to 65.
Okay. That helps, yeah.
Right. And so, again, it could be for all different reasons. So it's never too late. Also, people will say, am I too old? Is it too late? I can't do this. And there was a great research that I'll just summarize that basically just said that not using your muscles is more detrimental than aging, right? So our muscles do change with age, but we know that exercise can counteract the change that goes with aging. So not using your muscles, not exercising them, not being active is actually worse than aging.
Okay, so you brought up a couple things because on your Instagram you have a fact versus myth, and you bust some different, myths with some facts by sharing some facts. So I thought I'm going to just do that to you. I'm going to do myth versus truth, and have you kind of explain these. So I have bladder leakage is normal as we age. So
right.
Is that
that's what we were just talking about?
Yeah.
So that would be a myth. And yes, is it more likely to happen because of the natural changes in our muscles? Of course, but it's not normal. And as we were saying earlier, that exercise can counteract the negative effects of aging.
So I've got to admit something to you.
Okay.
I think on also on the Instagram, when I was looking at it, you said that the Kegels are not good to do when you're going to the bathroom. And I actually, just to make sure things are tight, and I will do that when I'm going to the bathroom because I want to try to prevent leakage. And you said that that's not a good thing. And so if you'll kind of share that, I thought, I found out something that I should not be doing. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's never an absolute. That was really said because I think back in history, they used to tell women to practice their Kegels while they were trying to go to the bathroom, right? Because if you were squeezing, you could either slow down the stream or you might be able to stop it. And I think that started to cause some issues, like with maybe infection or backflow of urine. However, if you did it like once a week, probably no big deal. We just don't want people routinely trying to go to the bathroom and stopping their urine, because when we get into something like urge incontinence, what we teach is something called urge suppression. So we're actually teaching people to use their muscles in a way to inhibit their bladder. And so when you're actually sitting down to go to the bathroom, you want to empty your bladder. That's not the time you're trying to inhibit your bladder. So we don't want to give a mixed signal and retrain our bladder, with the wrong pattern. So, but again, if you did it like every once in a while, no big deal. Just don't want to do it routinely.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So, myth versus truth. Strength training helps control hot flashes during menopause and postmenopause.
Yeah. So this is really interesting that research just came out and said that resistance training helps control vasomotor symptoms during menopause. So like hot flashes. And of course, we also know that another issue that maybe arises more in menopause is osteoporosis, loss of bone density, and we also know that strength training really helps with bone density as well. So you can get 2 for 1.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm getting to be probably to that point soon, and so I mean, who knows, but I want to make sure I keep up with the strength training, and now another reason to do that. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that I thought I'll ask you about is water intake and how often is normal going to the bathroom. Okay. So that, and I could phrase it with the myth versus truth too, but going to the bathroom every 2 to 4 hours is normal.
So that is normal. So normal voiding is during your waking hours anyway, is to go to the bathroom about every 2 to 4 hours.
Okay.
And at night, we say 0 to 1 at night. Until we hit 65 and older, they would consider once or twice at night. But I have people who are well into their 80s or 90s who don't get up at all. So those are just some ranges, typical ranges. And as far as water intake, That there's so many different thoughts on how much water we should take in. So I'll just start with the old thought that we should all, no matter who you were, man, woman, size, that you should drink 8-ounce glasses of water, right? So 64 ounces. National Institute of Health came out with some new thoughts on that, and they have women at 11 8-ounce glasses, so 88 ounces, and 1 to 1.5 cups more if you're sweating. They have men at 14 8-ounce glasses with 1 to 1.5 cups more if they're sweating. So another thought on that, some people say half your body weight in water. So you'll hear a lot of people say, I'm trying to drink half my body weight in water. Now, there are times we'll actually correlate with those other ranges I gave you. It's not always that far off. And then the other thought on water intake is if your urine is clear to light yellow, then you're probably hydrated enough. So for my patients, I kind of tell them all that. And then I say, we could shoot for somewhere between 64 to 88 ounces. And we just, more importantly, we want to space that fluid out evenly throughout the day. And we want to try to avoid maybe things that are irritants in there, which I think later I'll talk about what some of those are.
Okay. Yeah. I will say that because I have been trying to up my water intake, I feel like I'm going to the bathroom more frequently. Right. And so when I read the 2 to 4 hours, or, once every 2 to 4 hours, I was thinking I probably go way more than that. So I need to be cognizant of how often I'm going.
Yeah, we want people to be hydrated. And again, if someone was drinking 30 ounces of water, I'm not going to have them bump right up to, like 80 ounces of water. So they would do that gradually because your bladder's a muscle. And it's a muscle that you might have to teach to stretch a little bit longer, which is some training we do, like when people do have urinary frequency, like if they are going too much. But part of that treatment plan for frequency would also be really looking at bladder charts and seeing what fluid they're taking in and seeing how they're spacing it out, because it might just be a matter of, am I downing 32 ounces at once and then I don't have anything for 2 hours, right? And we might be able to space that out and help the bladder be able to tolerate that fluid intake more. Okay,
I can already tell you that I'm all gulp. Because I forget to drink, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I've got to have some water, and then I'll take not gulp, but maybe huge sips
you're trying to make up for lost time.
Yes.
Maybe we should think it's like, with sleep, they say you can't really make up for lost time.
I need to space it out. Yeah, I guess you can't. I just need to continue, and
I try to get people to, get a cup that they know what the ounces are. So maybe like a 24-ounce cup. And then they know, maybe they'll spend a couple hours with that 24 ounces. And then they might wait a little bit, fill that cup up again, and then spend a couple hours with that 24 ounces. And if you'll just kind of space that out. Now, if they're exercising and you're sweating, you might need a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. I wish there was something on my watch. I have something on my watch that'll say stand. It's time to stand. Yeah. But I wish there was something.
Breathe.
Or breathe. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before.
I bet there is something.
Yeah, something with water intake.
I probably should know that, but maybe I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. If so, that would probably be helpful. But anyway, okay. So if you could share some tips for how women can help their bladders, then I think that would be very helpful for maybe even, just prolonging, how long they might need until they come and see you even. So.
Well, I came up with a few tips that are good regardless, but I was thinking the holidays are coming up and people are traveling, so I think these could be helpful tips while people are traveling.
Perfect.
Okay, so the first one actually goes back to fluids, and I think when people are traveling via plane or car, they may try to restrict fluids.
I do that because I don't want to have to stop and go all the time and go to the bathroom. Right. Yes. So
so that's the comment I get is, I try not to drink because I don't want to have to stop and go to the bathroom, or I don't know when the next bathroom stop will be. And what I try to, educate them on is that restricting your fluids actually can backfire sometimes, right? So if we're a little bit more on the dehydrated side, then our urine may be more concentrated and that concentrated urine is more irritating to the bladder lining, and that makes your bladder almost want to get rid of it more. And so it's really, really interesting when I have people bring bladder charts into me, and I'm seeing their fluid, and I'm seeing how many times they go in the bathroom, and I can show them on a day. Let's say they took in 30 ounces of fluid and they go to the bathroom 10 times, and a day they took in 50 ounces of fluid and they went to the bathroom 8 or 9 times. Well, in their mind, they would have thought, oh, I would have for sure gone to the bathroom more on the day I drank more, but that wasn't the case. And it has to do with the concentration of the urine. So again, just back to that, spacing the fluids out. You probably don't want to be in the car just downing 32 ounces, but you should be sipping on some water.
Okay, good to know.
So that's the first one. And with that, I was going to say in the fluid intake should primarily be water, and avoid some of the bladder irritants, which I was referring to earlier, which might be like caffeine, carbonation, alcohol, some artificial sweeteners. I'm not saying people can't have these. I'm just saying know that those are the most common bladder irritants, things that can make you actually need to go to the bathroom more. So you may not want to have those on your long car trip.
How interesting that there's a correlation with that. Yeah. And how to fix your body and your bladder that in taking that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for the second one? Okay, so the second one is about emptying your bladder. I think a lot of people, especially if they're using a public restroom, hate to sit on the toilet.
Yeah, I will not.
So we have a lot of hovers.
I'm a hoverer, yes.
And so hovering makes it very, very difficult to relax your pelvic floor muscles. And we need to relax our pelvic floor muscles to truly empty our bladder all the way.
Okay.
So, you might want to just put that toilet paper down on that public toilet seat, or carry a little guard for you so that you can sit all the way down. It's important that we sit up straight. We need to open the legs a little bit. We need our inner thigh muscles to be relaxed, because that helps the pelvic floor muscles relax. Mm-hmm. And again, just relaxing that pelvic floor, maybe even taking a deep breath to truly make sure that we empty our bladder all the way. Okay.
Yep, I'm a hoverer, and so that probably doesn't help at all. So I need to be able to take some. Plus, the bathrooms, it's just yucky, and so I want to be in and out as fast as I can.
Right,
so
yeah.
Anyway,
I think that's the other thing, and I guess I would say is that we don't want to get in the habit of pushing urine out.
Oh.
And so that just came to my mind when you said people are in a hurry,
because
they're in a hurry and they just want to push it out and and get out of the bathroom. And so that can really start to create a lot of other bladder and pelvic floor issues when we get into this habit of pushing, because really, we squeeze to keep things in, we relax to let things out.
So. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
All right. Ready for my third one?
Yes.
Okay. My third one is we want to be careful about responding in urgency to going to the bathroom. So especially to triggers. And what I mean by triggers is, let's say someone pulls up into the garage and they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Or they're about to open the front door and they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the bathroom, or running water. These are environmental cues that we have accidentally trained our bladder to respond to with the need to go to the bathroom. And if we keep responding in urgency, you reinforce that pattern over and over. So eventually, it wouldn't even really matter if you need to go to the bathroom. It's just you pulled in the garage. And to your bladder, that means, to your brain and bladder, it means, oh, it's time to go to the bathroom, right? I'll have patients come in that say, they'll laugh, but they'll say, oh, my kids know to get out of my way. I am running in that door, right? And so that's become such a habit of theirs, and it's what their bladder's trained to do. Mm-hmm. So what we could do instead is, if you're seated, you could get to the edge of your seat where you're sitting to have just a little bit of pressure on the perineal area. You could, and if you're standing, just stop moving, because our instinct is to run. So we don't want to do a whole lot of movement. So either seated or standing, you would do about 4 to 5 quick contractions, like quick Kegels of the pelvic muscles, followed by a very deep calming breath to try to calm the nervous system. You could repeat that if you didn't have control yet. And then once you have control, then you would walk on into the bathroom.
Okay. So just taking a pulse, taking a break, and training yourself to not immediately go can sit there and just kind of be able to train yourself. It's not an immediate thing. So will that then eventually lead to maybe their bladder is not thinking about, or they're not thinking about going to the bathroom right when they get home?
Yes.
Is that what you're
retrain that? Yeah, you'll retrain that whole trigger out a little bit.
Gosh.
And I think we all have times where we've walked in the bathroom and just seeing the toilet has been a little bit of a trigger. So I'm not going to say that never happens, but you'll have a strategy, right, to address that and not have to become this whole urgent, like, hurry, unbutton, throw yourself down on the toilet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very helpful. Okay. Okay, this conversation has been so helpful. I feel like I've learned some different tips for what I'm doing and maybe now what not to do. And so I'm going to be sipping water, not so quickly and just taking my time, because the whole thing with bladder and health and the conversation that we're having, I know we have to do it, but...
well, like you said in the beginning, I mean, you only know what you know.
Yeah.
And once you just hear little tips and information, you can start to make small changes. And I work in this area, so I know a lot about this area, but there's other health issues that until I hear it I might not know, and then once I do, I can make those changes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so in wrapping up, my theme for 2023 is about living purposefully. And so I'm wondering how you live your life with purpose, or how you personally live purposefully.
Well, I wrote down a little quote that I've had written in my journal a while back, and so I'm going to read it and then I'll expand on that. But it says, how we first live inside will determine how we deal with things outside. And so in general, I'm a fairly reflective person, and I do not mind the journey, and I completely believe that our life experiences are a way for us to grow and learn. And I can see over my past that different experiences I've gone through have helped me maybe relate to friends in times of need, but have definitely made it possible for me to relate to my patients. And so much of what I do now with patients really does involve psychology. And we do know that, health and illness is really a result of an interaction between like biological factors, so like our genetics, like social situations, and psychological factors, maybe about like how someone handles stress. And so really being able to work with patients and help them recognize patterns, and to make those changes is what I'm doing in my job, but it's also what I try to do personally.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that quote.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So if you can share with people how they can get in touch with you or learn more about, what you're doing.
Okay. Well, we mentioned the online business I just started with a colleague of mine, classmate of mine, Erin Anderson, and that is called Pelvic Pathways. It's an online platform to share tips and information for just education, but that we also on Instagram have a page, and there's a link to our bio where you can see our page, but you can also get our online program. Right now we have the stress urinary incontinence program that's available for purchase. And in the spring, we'll have our Urge urinary incontinence program that will be available for purchase. And as far as in-person visits, of course, I'm in Tulsa at Urologic Specialists of Oklahoma, so I do in-person clinic visits. And you can get to me via one of our 22 urologists at Urologic Specialists. I also take outside referrals from OBGYNs, gastroenterologists, primary care physicians, and Oklahoma is a direct access state, so you can refer yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to link your information about Pelvic Pathways, and so people can find you that way. And then if they want to connect, otherwise, other than that, then I'll let them do that. But I love what you're doing. I'm so happy to share this. I feel like it's so informative to people, and I've learned through this conversation, but then I learned a lot just looking at your Instagram, and so I know there's so much more to come. But I love what you're doing and appreciate the education on a topic that isn't so fun to talk about or share about.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun.
Oh, you think it's
yeah. I think it's fun.
Good.
No, I thank you, and thank you for thinking of me.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap on this week's episode. I want to thank you for listening to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. It means the world to me, and I'd love to connect with you. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter at Passion Sharing. Also, if you like this podcast, it would mean a lot to me for you to subscribe, rate, and review it. And as always, all my show notes will be available on my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com.